The inspiration for True Story comes from the tension that we all experience when we come into contact with the story of Jesus, which is this true? Is this real? Is it going to impact my own life?
I would describe A True Story as a modern reimagining of the resurrection story, but from the perspective of a police investigator in our current day, in our current context, just trying to rationalize what happened to this body, but discovering there's a whole other story to be unpacked there.
Part of the reason why the question mark flashes at the beginning is we're inviting people to go on this journey and to question it themselves. Is this a true story? Who is Jesus? Is he real? Did he actually die for our sins? What does that mean? So we're inviting people to go on that journey. And you actually see the characters in this film, they go on that journey themselves and they wrestle with that question.
I think creatively, the biggest challenge was trying to reconcile putting the story in our own current context, in our own language, with people who look and sound like us, but make sure that we are carrying the weight and respecting the importance of the source material in this incredibly miraculous, huge, important story that we were trying to tell people, and just making sure those two things could exist together in a way that effectively communicated the vision.
For people who are familiar with the message and the story of Jesus, I hope this film would help them have empathy to walk in someone else's shoes who is experiencing that message for the first time. For someone who doesn't know Jesus, I would hope this film would show that there actually isn't really an agenda behind this, that us who created this, we are the disciples in this film. We have been personally impacted by Jesus and his story.
For me, it was really interesting to unpack the kind of secondary and tertiary characters who I didn't really know a lot about, the people like Joseph of Arimathea, and just how complex and layered it made this story that we were all pretty familiar with. It just made the weight of what Jesus did for us more real for me, I'd say, and just all the more incredible and beautiful, and it really is the greatest love story ever told.
What Jesus was speaking to the people around him 2,000 years ago is absolutely relevant to us today. They were human, we are human. The disciples were faced with a lot of uncertainty in their lives, in the era that they were living in. And I think in many ways for us, we can feel uncertainty in our futures depending on what perspective we have. And so Jesus is giving us a hope, a plan and a future for our lives. So I think that parallel, we can find peace and assurance in that.